Good morning. I'm Katie Buckley. I'm the director of Vermont League of Cities and Towns ARPA Assistance and Coordination Program. Also on Team VLCT, joining me today is Shayna Lyon. She is our newest event and partnership coordinator, and also Lisa Goodell, who many of you know already, was our former event person. She is now our digital marketing specialist. They're both with me today to help on the logistics. I really appreciate it. Thank you, ladies. And we're glad that all of you could join us. We are pleased to partner with Vermont Housing Finance Agency and welcome you all to utilizing the Homeowner Assistance Program to manage delinquencies. COVID has placed added stress on many homeowners who are struggling to make ends meet. Chasing delinquencies, property taxes, water, sewer, and other municipal utility bills only adds burden to your growing list of municipal duties, and nobody wants a tax sale. You can solve your residents' problems and yours by getting paid through the Homeowner Assistance Program, and we'll tell you more about that today. We're joined today by our colleagues from Vermont Housing Finance Agency, VHFA, that's the acronym, you'll hear us use that a lot, Polly Tybalt, who's the loan servicing manager, and Mike Plunkett, who's the mortgage assistance confirmation specialist. VHFA is administering the Homeowner Assistance Program funded with $50 million of ARPA funds. They have hired consultants to help them deploy this massive amount of funding, and they are joined today by Ingrid Nixon from Tidal Basin, VHFA's case management vendor, and Rebecca Johnson from Spiridian Technologies, their systems vendor. Before I hand things off, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. You'll notice this webinar is being recorded. We will post the recording along with the presentation materials in the resource library on our website under recorded trainings. Hopefully it'll be up there by the end of the week. No promise there. Maybe Lisa or Shayna can confirm. If you have a question, please pose your question using the Q&A function. We will not be answering questions from the chat function. If you see a question in the Q&A that you want to also ask, give it a thumbs up to help move it up the order. Shayna and Lisa, am I forgetting anything? Or are we?
I can't think of anything. What about you,
Okay.
Shayna?
No, I think we're doing well here.
Great, then I am going to hand it off to our partners from the Homeowner Assistance Program. Who would like to take it away from here?
Well, if anyone from VHFA wants to say a welcome first before I get started, please do. Hearing, oh, there's
I would just like to thank everyone for their time and for their support. We know this is an ominous program and it really literally takes a village, and you folks are being great partners, and I just want to thank you and appreciate your time.
Awesome. So if that being said, I can go ahead and get started with my presentation, Katie?
You bet.
All right. Well, hello. Hello, everyone. I just wanted to say hi. I know that some of you on this call, I recognize your names, so you all probably know me via email, but my name is Ingrid Nixon. I am the program manager. I'm over the case management team responsible for processing applications for homeowner assistance. You will likely hear from me when I need to verify someone's account balances. And if you have any questions related to that, you'll reach out to me or a member of my team. So we're going to go ahead with the presentation for the morning, and then at the end, I will be happy to answer any questions you may have. Give me a moment to share my screen. All righty, so we're going to begin. What is the Vermont Homeowner Assistance Program? The Homeowner Assistance Fund was created by the American Rescue Plan Act, and it's administered by the U.S. Treasury. It's administered to different states, to DC, tribes, and U.S. territories. And all of the states and territories get funds that can be given to home-owning residents. So here in the state of Vermont, the Vermont Housing Finance Agency is the vendor responsible for dispersing these funds. Vermont homeowners are eligible if they've experienced a financial hardship due to COVID after January 21st, 2020. They can be eligible for funds assisting them with their mortgage payments, their property tax, and utilities. Once approved, these payments are made directly to you as the service provider. So, who is eligible for Vermont homeowner assistance program funds. Anyone who has an income that is equal to or less than 150% of the area median income. There's a calculator on Vermont Housing Finance Agency's website that will help someone to determine whether or not they meet this income requirement. They have to have experienced a financial hardship that is associated with the coronavirus pandemic after January 21st, 2020. I want to address this piece of the requirements because I did get a lot of questions from you all about some of your property owners who have delinquent taxes prior to this date. We will assist with past due balances that happened before this date, provided that their financial hardship began and continued throughout this time. So even though it may have started before January 21st, if they can show a pattern that their hardship started before January 21st and has continued, we will still assist them with these payments. And they must, this must be their primary residence. I have seen where some individuals are applying for assistance with maybe their primary residence and maybe a residence that they maybe have rental property. So we do want to make sure that we are only applying or providing assistance to individuals, and this is their primary residence. All right, so how do they apply? Some of you have said, hey, we know that this person is delinquent in their taxes. I want to try to get them help. Where should they go? So they're going to go to hapapply.vhfa.org. I know there's been some other assistance programs in the past. They can't piggyback off of that. They must create a brand new account here and submit a new application. And this is where they will go, hapapply.vhfa.org. All right, and now how do you become a provider? If you go to the Vermont Housing Finance Agency's website, they have a service provider site up, a webpage that gives you additional information on how you can onboard as a provider. Many of you received an email from me providing you with an onboarding form, and you would need to complete that form and return it back to us to begin the onboarding process. To learn more about how you can onboard as a service provider and a little bit of more information about the program, you can visit the website shown on the screen here. So let's kind of do a quick overview of the onboarding process. The initial step is to complete the onboarding form. If you have not already done so, you must complete the form and email it to mriggs@vhfa.org. Again, you have to complete the form. Just because the applicant applied and lists you as the provider does not mean that we're going to automatically send payments your way. You have to complete the form, identify a point of contact, and tell us how you'd like to be paid. The main point of contact is the person that I will reach out to verify account balances. So please keep this in mind when you create your or submit your form and identify a point of contact. And then again, you'll share how you would like to receive your payment. After the onboarding form is received, you will then be onboarded into our case management system and provider portal. Once an account is created for you, you will receive a system-generated email from alerts@ftptoday.com containing your username and a link to reset your password. Please be sure to check your junk mail folder, as sometimes it can go there. All right, so let's talk about the FAMS provider portal. The FAMS provider portal is where you will go to either submit your onboarding form if you choose not to email it.
Ingrid,
oh, I'm sorry.
can I interrupt 1 second? This is Rebecca.
Sure.
Can we just, even though you've received your email sign-on credentials, a critical step in accessing this portal is going to be providing your IP address back to Miranda, who's the MRIGS email address we've notated so that she can whitelist your access. If you have your username and you're trying to log in and you're not able to access, a lot of times it's because we haven't received your IP address yet. So that is a critical step before trying to sign in to make sure that we have that piece.
Thanks, Rebecca. All right, so use of the FAMS provider portal is not required. You do not have to use the FAMS provider portal. If you send us the onboarding form, you identify the point of contact, and we know how to get payment to you, you're not required to log into the FAMS provider portal. It is optional. And so making the decision to opt out of use of the provider portal will not prevent payment disbursement. You are, however, required to submit the onboarding form. You must provide your IP address. You will not be able to log into the provider portal unless you provide your IP address. This is because we must make sure that the individual's information that we are sharing with you is kept secure and confidential. Providing your IP address means that you are the only person who is able to log in at that set location, wherever you are, with your login credentials. If you are working from home one day and then you're working from the office the next day, your IP address will change and you will need to provide us with the newest IP address so that we can put it in our system. To locate your IP address, you need to go to whatismyipaddress.com. You will provide your IP address to mriggs@vhfa.org. This would be your IPv4 address from this website. Again, as Rebecca stated, you have to provide us your IP address if you'd like to participate in the provider portal. If you don't, you will not be able to log in. All right, how do I verify a property owner has applied for VHAP funds? If you go into the provider portal, within your individualized folder is a subfolder called Reports. When you click on Reports, you will be able to have an Excel file there that shows the individuals that have listed you as a provider and has applied for the program. The file containing your customers or property owners will be located in your Reports folder again, and you may not receive a file every day as it stands right now. Right now, we were only sending reports when an applicant applied and listed you as a provider. That may not happen every day. If you're a smaller town or you don't have many applicants in your town, you may not get an applicant every day. If you're a larger town, you may get applicants every day. We're working on the reporting feature and we may have updates to provide to you soon, but right now you will receive a report if you have identified, or if an applicant has identified you as a provider within the past day. Note, an applicant chooses their provider during the application process. It's not until a case manager reviews their application. I apologize for that. It's not until a case manager reviews their application are we able to verify the provider selected was correct. So let me explain that piece. So if an applicant applies and they say that their provider is Berry Water Services, if they selected other and typed in Berry Water Services, well, Berry Water Services is not an identified provider in our system. So you won't get notification the day that they selected Berry Water Services. We then have to go in the application, review it, and update it to City of Berry. So I know sometimes individuals have contacted me and said, this applicant says that they applied. I go and look in their application and they created their own provider, which is not one that's identified in our system. All right, so how do I verify delinquent property tax balances? As I mentioned earlier in the call, if you are onboarded in our system and you're active, and we've determined that the applicant has met the eligibility requirements, which we talked about earlier in the presentation, that they have to own their property, they have to meet the income requirements, they have to attest to financial hardship, and they have to be behind in their payments. If we confirmed all of this is accurate, then we will reach out to you via email and we'll ask you to please verify the delinquent property tax balance. It's important to note that we will not cover current taxes due. We will only pay the delinquent property taxes owed. Upon verification, we will consider the request of other program areas, meaning if they have also applied for mortgage assistance and their mortgage assistance may be more than what we're able to pay, or it may be reaching the program cap, then we may have to modify the amount that you verified in order to prioritize mortgage first. You will receive an automated email once the applicant has been dispersed funds for that particular address. You'll get an email from the system letting you know that they have been dispersed funds for their address and it's coming toward you, to your way. Same for water and sewer. You will receive an email listing the applicants who are eligible, and we're going to ask you for the total water and sewer account balance. Remember, this is a little bit different. For the delinquent taxes, we will only pay the delinquent taxes. Because account balances or pay period, or not pay periods, I'm so sorry, service periods differ for different individuals, we have chosen to pay the total water and sewer account balance just to make sure that by the time the amount gets to you, that we have kind of, secured that total balance amount out there. And we don't make a mistake and leave something unpaid, and we have to go back and alter our payment just to kind of get it modified to get you what you need or what the applicant needs. So we will pay the total water and sewer account balance. You will respond to the email that I send to you indicating what this balance is for the applicant or customer. And then upon verification, we will consider the assistance requested from other program areas. So again, if someone needs mortgage assistance, that's $29,000, and someone needs water and sewer assistance, that's $5,000. Unfortunately, we would only be able to pay you $1,000. You will receive an automated email once payment has been dispersed. All right, I think that just about covers all that you need to know about the program. And so we kind of created this short presentation because we realized that you all probably have a lot of questions, and I wanted to allot for that time to be able to answer them for you. I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and then we can work on the Q&A. Katie, if you want to help me with the Q&A.
Yeah, of course. I'd be happy to do that. And thanks, Ingrid, for your presentation. I really appreciate it, as do our participants today. So we haven't had any updated report in FAMS since March 30th, but we know applicants have been accepted and received an account number. They aren't showing up on the list.
Sure. And I know that we are working to update that. As I said, we're trying to switch from a daily report to a cumulative report. Could you tell me which provider asked this, Katie?
I know the name. Carol, sorry, I don't know your town, if you don't mind. And I think Rebecca might be typing an answer into that one as we're answering it. If you could put your town name in with your question. I know we have 246, probably more actually. And I know a lot of names, but I can't necessarily tie them from memory to a town or city or village. So I'm getting better at it.
Well, if you give me a name, I probably would know who it is.
Carol Dawes?
It's Barry.
There you go.
Hi, Carol. So I will look into why you have not been receiving those reports. But like I said, we are trying to update our system. So instead of you receiving a daily report whenever someone applies, we're hoping to get it to where we can send you a cumulative report every day. So even if you don't get anyone new, you'll still get a report showing that you didn't get anyone new. But I'll be happy to look into your specific folder as soon as the call is over with Carol.
Do we verify the delinquent amount as of today, or do we include interest that will be accruing soon?
So we'd like for you to provide the good through date on that email. Many of you do that for me. If you provide the good through date, it tells us how long we have to make that payment. And then if you tell me, if you don't pay by this date, then, this amount will be accrued, and then this is the total amount that will then be due. That is very helpful for us. Many of you do that. If you would all adopt that, that would be good. So if you just tell me this amount is good until this date, and so that way we'll know if I can't make the payment by this date, then can you tell me what the new amount would be if payment isn't received by this date?
This is a good one. Do you have a flyer or information that I can include with my delinquent tax bills? Is that the best way to notify homeowners?
I'll hand that to Michael or Polly, and they probably will have to get back to the team to figure that piece out, but that would be something that I guess would be helpful if there's a flyer that you guys could provide.
Yeah. No, I'll reach out to Leslie and we'll get something out to all the participants today.
I think there actually is one, Polly, on the affiliate webpage. I can double check that.
And if there is a flyer, we could also post it under the recording for this webinar, along with our materials. And towns might also post it on their website, so residents could see it there as well. Sorry.
Right, because I know we did design one, but I think that it might need updating. So I'll just reach out to Leslie to make sure.
Gotcha.
Thank you.
This one might actually be more for me. Are towns responsible for reporting delinquent taxes received from this program to the U.S. Treasury? And the answer to that is no. This does not contribute in any way to your own local ARPA award that you received from Treasury. I think that was the question being asked. We have been signed up for a few months now. I have never received a report. How do I verify that I am set up to receive payments? This is Chester.
I can, Town of Chester. I'm trying to think, and did you contact me yesterday, Town of Chester?
You won't be able to see.
Sorry.
That's okay.
I feel like
but I
someone
bet
from
she'll
Town
chime
of Chester.
in. Yeah.
I feel like someone from Town of Chester messaged me yesterday, actually.
Okay.
But let me just take a look after the call. I'm jotting you down, and I can reach back out to you.
What do we do with people who don't have internet?
So we do have housing counseling agencies available, and they're not just to receive housing counseling, but they also serve as what we call navigators, and they help individuals to submit their application if they don't have access to internet. This information is also on the website, and you can find a counseling agency near that, that applicant or prospective applicant, and they're able to call them and reach out and get set up that way. And then Michael, I know Michael works a little bit more closely with the HCAs than I do. So if you want to add something to that, Michael, or if I covered it, that's fine too. I think I covered it. Yep.
Also,
okay, thanks, Michael.
If they also, if they don't have internet, you might also direct them to your local library because they have internet access for the public there. So somebody could use internet there if they lack service.
I mean, I also want to say that they do have capabilities via their phone, right, Michael?
Mobile.
I mean, they can use their phone as well.
Yeah, they can use their phone. So.
Their smartphone.
I never thought of the library. That's a good idea.
Mm-hmm.
Another one here. Is this considered grant income for the town? Do we have to include it on our report for federal expended funds? No, it would come as how any other payment would come, correct?
Are you asking me?
I am. It's basically they receive a check. And so the source of the funding is to them, it's just another check. Regardless.
So the provider receives the check, and of course it does come from, federal funds. I'm not exactly sure of their requirement for reporting, but I do know the VHFA reports, who funds were dispersed to. So maybe for a better answer, it would have to come from someone from the accounting team at VHFA. Yep.
I will follow up on that question as well on our end, but pretty sure that the the homeowner is the recipient, the beneficiary of the funds, and that there wouldn't be a reporting on behalf of the town. But I will definitely follow up, and that you'll see that in the Q&A. We'll answer all the questions that are posed in the Q&A and provide answers to them and post those as well. Let's see here. If an applicant applies for both taxes and utilities, do you send one payment? Our tax and utilities entities are two separate entities and would require separate payments.
The latter. So we will send separate payment for taxes and a separate payment for utilities.
The website link to sign up as a service provider has not worked for us. Has anyone else had this problem?
When you say the website link to sign up, I need a little bit more because remember, you have to submit your onboarding form, provide it to us. We create you an account, and then you have to provide us with your IP address before you're able to access the provider portal. So when you say the website link, I need to understand a little bit more of what they mean.
Okay. If we are not signed up for the portal, will we be notified that one of the property owners have applied for the program?
You won't be notified until I send you an email letting you know that I need to verify their account balance. And then you'll get an email letting you know that payment has been dispersed for that specific address.
And when you send an email letting them know that the homeowner has signed up, will it include a link?
No.
To the portal to sign up?
No, I won't send you an email if you're not active because I can't pay you and there's no reason to verify a balance at that time. Okay. So I'm hoping that anyone on this call today, if you are not onboarded, by the time you get off this call or immediately after you get off this call, you complete that onboarding form and you send it over to mriggs@vhfa.org.
This, I think, speaks more probably to Polly and Mike about vetting. Whoops, I just lost the question. Applicants, can applicants receive funding through different programs? There's a number of programs listed. Are towns responsible for ensuring there's no double dipping going on?
I can answer. So I know that I've seen this with applicants who are live in like a mobile home and they pay mobile home lot rent, which would make them eligible for the VRAP program, but they own their mobile home, which also makes them eligible for our program. It's absolutely fine if they apply for both, but what we cannot do is provide assistance during the same time period. So I would like to count on you as a provider too, and some of you have done this. You know, you'll tell me just to let you know this applicant did receive assistance, you know, recently from, you know, the VRAP program, which we really appreciate you doing that. It's certainly not your obligation though. But as long as we're not providing assistance during the same time period, then it's fine. Now, if it's not a mobile home lot rent scenario, and we do know of an individual who's requesting assistance for their primary residence or requesting assistance based on property that you know is a rental property, like I said, you know, you're not required to divulge this, but if you have this information and you're able to share it with us, then that way we could do a little bit more research on our end, because we're only able to pay for homeowners' primary residence.
And a little bit more on that, I would also say, remember, this is for delinquent funds. So if somebody else, if they owe you $1,000 and somebody pays you 500 of it, you should only be reporting to us the $500 delinquent amount, right? If you report 100 to us and we pay the 100 and then somebody else pays you 50, you would need to return the funds to one of the two so that there's no overlap.
Okay. Ready for a next one?
Sure.
I have taxpayers saying that my town is not signed up. We have been signed up since March, and I can see the town is signed up on the website. I think that's more of a.
And again, it amazes me, but sometimes applicants don't know who their provider is, or they make it up. And so if they're calling the call center, which is how this is happening, and the call center knows to look at a certain listing to see whether or not the provider is active. So in the example that I gave during the presentation, if someone selected Berry Water Department, that's not a provider in our system. They manually type that in. So yes, they are going to be told that we don't have Berry Water Department as an active provider. So we just want to make sure that the applicant actually selected the correct provider, and that provider name is what you put on your onboarding form.
If a small town opts out of using the portal, would payment come as a mail check?
The payment will come via the method you select when you submit your onboarding form.
But you have to use the portal to get paid.
No, the portal is not a requirement. The onboarding form is.
Okay, so you can submit paper.
So as long as you give me that onboarding form, you don't ever have to touch the provider portal, and you still will receive payment, but I have to know who the point of contact is, and I have to know your preferred payment method.
Excellent. Follow up from this webinar, where should they send questions to?
Sure, they can send them to me, Nixon at VHFA.org, or they can submit their onboarding form, and any follow-up questions can be asked to mriggs, R-I-G-G-S, at VHFA.org.
I think most of them have been largely answered. Is there any additional information that you want to share?
Ingrid, there's one in here for if they do both taxes and utilities, whether or not they need to sign up as two providers or they can do that as one provider.
You submit one form, but you indicate on the form the different provider types associated with you. So there are check boxes on there. You can just bubble in the ones that apply to you.
And I just want to give a little praise here. This program has worked very smoothly for me so far. I sent Ingrid my forms about 2 weeks ago, and I received my first payment yesterday.
Oh, that.
Nice job.
Yeah, so then I would like to just mention the turnaround time question that came from Lee from the town of Orange. So, you know, standardly it's a 45 to 60 day turnaround, but not necessarily as that the rule of thumb. But if you're looking, you know, you're talking to folks and they're nervous and you want to give them a general time frame, that would be a safe time frame to give them.
And just so you know, we do have an escalation process. So
Right.
if there's anyone facing a tax sale, and we certainly want to mitigate that before it happens, please feel free to reach out to me. Let me know, make sure you're onboarded, provide me with that total delinquent amount, and we'll do what we can to expedite that application.
I think you folks are monitoring the chat, as the Q&A as well as I am, who are familiar with the program. Thanks, Polly, and thanks, Rebecca.
And so Ingrid, one question about multiple contacts. The answer to that is yes. And I'm sure that Rebecca, you might want to chime in on that.
Can you ask the question?
The question is, can we have two contacts, an email sent to both contacts, or do we only use one?
So in the case management site, there is only one option for a point of contact. Now, if you choose to join the provider portal, we can do additional. But as far as sending the verifications, typically it's just one point of contact that I send it to.
We're receiving duplicate email notifications letting us know funds have been approved and are being dispersed. Each approval is getting 2 identical email confirmations. Is there a way to fix it so we only get one?
Yes. Can I know who that? Let me see.
Carol. Barry.
Oh. Okay. All righty. Carol, we'll look into that as well. Just make sure that if it's an email confirmation, just look and see the type of program it's sending you for. So if you had someone for property tax and you had someone for water and sewer, they got approved the same day, you probably will see 2 emails, one telling you that the property tax was approved and one telling you that the water sewer was approved. Now, if you're saying that you're getting multiple emails for the same program type, we'll take a look.
Do the funds count as income for the applicant?
No.
Okay. Okay. Go ahead.
No, I pulled up the Q&A and I see a question from Carol about initiating someone's application on their behalf. You can do that only if they authorize you to, and then you would be like their authorized rep. But like I said, we do have housing counseling agencies available to help individuals navigate the application process if they're not able to do so on their own. So I wouldn't suggest it, but absolutely it would be up to you. But you would have to have that person's permission to act on their behalf.
I see a question about the reports. It says there are 6 files uploaded. The status is pending. Will we definitely be getting paid for these? So those are applications submitted, not approved for the program. Once Ingrid reaches out to you, then that applicant has been approved as eligible for the program and she's verifying the funds, and then payment will be determined based on your feedback of verified amount. Pending just means they've submitted an application and they still have to have the case managers review that and verify that they're eligible and meet all the criteria.
Right. And this was done as a response to many of you who said, hey, we need to know who's applied so we don't shut them off or we don't take them up for tax sale. And so in our response to your request, we created these reports so you would have visibility into who's applied and who hasn't. So like Rebecca said, this is solely just to advise you of who has applied, but it's no indication that they actually are eligible or that funds are heading their way until I email you.
And so back to the 45 to 65, and Debbie's asking what would be the best practice if you're looking at a May payment and you've gone through you've got the grace period, you're still within the grace period, you've got fees, you've got tax fees, legal fees, and those sorts of things. We'd be looking to reinstate. It would be a full reinstatement. So when Ingrid reaches out to you, then it would be, she'd be looking for your verification of the reinstatement.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. We don't want to pay any amount that still causes an applicant to be at risk of losing their home or their property. Right. So we need the amount that's going to make sure that they get to keep their property.
So that also answers the after tax sale during the grace period. Are the costs of the tax sale, legal fees, et cetera, included in what's covered?
Yes.
I sort of combined the two.
Yeah. I
no.
wasn't sure. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah. No, that's fine. I think it does cover both.
Yeah, I thought so, but I figured I would just
Thank you.
also.
And I see someone is already see someone already took my advice and sent me an email about a pending tax sale. So kudos to you.
There's a similar question about delinquent utilities. So, is it only delinquent utilities? Is it all that's, I know we talk about what the current statement is and whether that current amount is included. Could you explain that a little bit, Ingrid, about what's considered?
So we just want to make sure, because there are different billing periods there, for different individuals. And so we want to make sure that by the time you submit that amount and by the time we're able to get that amount to you, we haven't missed another billing period, right? So in order to make sure that we're trying to help as best as possible, we're asking you to submit the total amount due. So the program is really to help with delinquent, but we realized that, given a lapse of time, we could have missed a service period. So we're asking you to just give us the total amount due so we make sure that we can help with the most as possible. So now I understand there's a town, I won't call their name, but they did kind of give me a bit of a doozy. And when we first onboarded them, because there's delinquent water, sewer, and taxes that's handled by one town, but then there's late and current handled by another piece of the town. And I have to kind of work with both of them to get the same payment out to that person. So it would really help us is when you onboard that you really kind of give us any type of caveats that would make it a little difficult for us to disperse payment. Just please notify us that when you send that onboarding form over.
Any other new questions that we're seeing pop up? And separate identities need to register separately.
Yep. So for you, Waterbury, if that's the one you're referring to, yeah. So for you, if it's two separate entities and they're getting payments, like payment methods are separate, like maybe two bank accounts or the checks go to two separate locations, then you would need two separate forms. Where does the median income number come from? So the program decided on 150% of the area median income. It's in reference to where the person lives and the average income for the individuals in that area. And then we take that, that number and it has to be 150% of that. So there's a calculator on the website. If someone wants to know if they qualify, they can go to the website and use that calculator and put their income in and find out that way. And it's also based on your household size as well. So you have to enter in the number of people in your household and the total income for the household. And you'll find out if you meet that income requirement.
And I'm sorry if this one's been answered. We haven't had an updated report since March 30th, but we know applicants have been accepted and received an account number.
Yeah, that was Carol's. I'll look at it
Okay,
after
great.
the call.
Yep.
And I also see your follow-up, Carol, to my question about the duplicate emails, and we'll also check into that as well.
It's quieting down in the Q&A.
And maybe they're filling out their onboarding forms.
Maybe.
I
think an email was sent with it, right?
Let's hope.
Yeah.
And remember, if you need a copy of the form and you didn't receive it, I sent a mass email based upon the registered attendees as of Saturday. So if you registered after Saturday, you're likely not, you weren't in that email that I sent to you. But again, if you could go to the website, the form is there for you. You can download it and you can fill it out and return it to mriggs@vhfa.org.
Great. So what do you think? Homeowner Assistance Program team.
I will hang around for, I guess, 1 or 2 minutes, and then maybe we can just, we can tell them they can log off if they've gotten their questions answered, and we'll just kind of see the attendees trickle away, I guess.
And we can post if you'd like. So the recording, the slide deck, if there's a flyer, and the onboarding form all together as a package with our on our website for this webinar today. If you want those to be part of the presentation materials, we can certainly include those. So people have multiple places to go, because sometimes it's hard to remember exactly where to go.
Now you have some hands raised as well. Do you want to allow them to unmute and ask their questions? I see some hands being raised, or we're just doing it typing. Is that what it is?
I think.
I know some individuals maybe join via their phone, so it might be easier to talk than type on their phone. I don't know.
I don't think we have the ability for those participating to speak.
Sure. Okay.
In this format.
So it looks like Charlotte and Elmira have their hands raised. If you guys could just type your question. So we're kind of leveling off. Mm-hmm. Are there any closing statements you want to say or takeaways that you really want people to hang on to as they walk away from the webinar today? Just really the important thing is to get us your onboarding form, provide us any information that we need to know if your town or city is set up a little differently than others. And then also, if you would like access to the provider portal, please remember you will not be able to access it unless you provide us with your IP address. Also remember the reports are not an indication that anyone is actually approved. It's just so that you have transparency and insight into who's applied that's naming you as a provider. In order for us to actually approve someone, you must respond to the email from me indicating their account balances. Once you do that, we're able to add that information to their application and get them approved. Also, if someone is facing a tax sale or disconnection, please reach out to me and we can work our best to escalate that file for you.
One thing I would also like to say, in the chat box there, I did include a link to the HAP promotional material. So there's a PDF flyer that towns can print off and include in documents they're sending to people. So.
Perfect. All righty. Well, it looks like
I'm just popping in the chat where the recording of this webinar will be posted. It's in our resource library under recorded trainings, and the link is in the chat. And we will, Shayna, I might ask you this. Do we follow up and send an email to those who registered, indicating that the webinar is posted, or do we just include that in our regular communications that we sent out and direct people that way? Sorry to put you on the spot.
That's okay, not a
Data's in
problem.
week 2. I just want to tell everybody.
So I might not have a great answer to that. I will follow up with Lisa. She is on the call if she wants to jump on. I'm not sure. But I know we have everyone's email address who was registered. Lisa, do you want to provide a little more to that?
Yeah, sure. So usually we will send these out to folks once we have all of the materials. So for this one, I think it should happen pretty quickly, but as soon as we get the presentation and if there's any other written stuff we need to include, we will do that. Sometimes for our webinars that have lots of Q&A that we don't get to answer live, it takes a little longer to post and answer those in written form. So those take a little longer, but yes, we should have this up shortly.
Thank you.
And I also posted the link to the service provider page on Vermont's Housing Finance Agency's website. And the onboarding form is located there just in case you didn't get it from me via email over the weekend.
Great. So if there's no further information to share, what's better than giving people back 7 minutes of their life, right? Because we're all very busy. And folks have lots on their plates. So appreciate everyone's time today, both those in our audience and our partners from VHFA and consultants who are joining us today to help everyone along with this, both the homeowners throughout the state and our towns who are trying to help them through this. So I really appreciate it. The Vermont League of Cities and Towns really appreciates the partnership with VHFA. And everybody have a great day. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Talk to you soon.